Hello, everybody. We are live on a Wednesday night. We bring the big names, have the big fun. We've got Morgan Bushell with us on this fine Wednesday night. It's actually been rubbish weather, so that's a lie. But how you going, Morgan?
Yeah, good, Jeff. How you going, mate?
Man, I'm super excited. Like, I don't know, I get this lull about sort of 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I have dinner, and I get super excited about these sessions. But there was something that hit me about sort of 7 o'clock. It was just like, I don't know, I'm just excited. I'm just interested to share the value. So how about you, Joe? What are you how you going?
Mate, I'm super pumped. I'm super pumped. This is going to be a very, very exciting one. There have been some changes in the government APRA regulations, and it's such a timely event that we happen to have Morgan Bushell on, very experienced and excited and pumped.
I promise we didn't try and plan that with the government. I promise there was no kind of hype to get it more exciting, but it just so happened.
I did time it. I told the old gov. There we go. What about okay, so what are we doing? Okay, guys, so just letting you know now, we have now shifted the way that we introduce everyone. So we are now doing quotes, our favorite quote, and what we hope is that we don't have the same quote. So it is going to be quote of the day, because life hacks, there's only so many life hacks until you run out and start scraping the bottom of the barrel. So everybody loves a good quote. It keeps you on your toes. So Morgan, can you give us the first quote ever in this group? What is your favorite? What is a go-to quote that you love?
No pressure.
No pressure.
Yeah, gosh, wow, what an honor to be first off the first cab off the rank. But yeah, look, I love this quote. It's comes back to people a lot. So my quote is, "You cannot teach a man anything. You can only help him find it within himself."
Wow.
And that's by Galileo.
It's bloody deep. I was going to say man or woman, because you can't teach a person. I don't know. Do we want to be? Yeah. Let's. I saw that.
Well, Galileo, you know, you got to give the quote what the quote was. You can't really just, you know.
Cancel culture, mate. Galileo would have been cancelled today. Anyway,
that's a fantastic one. I like that. I was only just thinking about that. A similar quote today about the student the teacher's ready when the student arrives, or whatever. Everyone knows what one. The student's ready. No, the teacher's whatever.
The teacher arrives when the student is ready, Joe. Is that your quote?
Thank you, mate. That is not my quote. What is your quote, Jeff? I want to hear yours.
I want it to be last, damn it, because just in case.
Okay, I'll go. I've got a good one. I've had this one in my phone for a long time, and I've had her in my phone a long time. No, no one's saying that about me. Okay, so this one is it's about anger. I don't really have any anger issues or anything like that. But I like the quote. I think I don't remember who it's attributed to, but it is: being angry is like drinking poison and expecting other people to get sick. It's the same as holding on to bitterness. It's the same as holding on to anything negative. If someone has upset you or annoyed you, you holding on to that, it's just poison.
Let it go.
That's my favorite. Let it go, baby, because it's only hurting you. Jeff.
Mate, this has been very deep, and I hope mine continues the deep theme. And we want to see the comments, questions, thoughts. There's going to be heaps of them, I know. Bloody Gaz, this person keeps popping in the stream. Anyway, I don't know what's going on. But my quote is, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions that you ask. And so it's very apt, given that we're talking about borrowing capacity and lending and being able to buy more property, because I often think people just have to ask a better question, or a different question, not better, because better is relative, but a different question, and you'll get a different answer. So that's what I wanted to kick my quotes of the week off this week.
Fantastic. I love it, Jeff. I love it. Okay. Well, let's dive, before we introduce the fantastic Morgan Bushell, let's jump into our first sponsor, get that out of the way, and then we can dive into the interesting and exciting world of property finance and excitement. Let's do it. Scott Agate. You would have seen him on the 7 p.m. project campaigning against agent underquoting. Scott is an expert negotiator through and through. Every single day, he is negotiating with real estate agents to get the best price for his clients. To give you a bit of a background, Scott has been working in real estate since 1995, and as a real estate agent, built up 3 Bell franchises. He was the guy teaching the agent all the tips and tricks to get the most out of the buyers. However, Scott realised that there was actually no one on the side of the person buying the property, and he saw them constantly letting emotion get in the way and paying way over for the property. And that's why he created Hello House, Australia's first property negotiation as a service business, where he is on the side of the buyer. In hot markets like we have now, you need absolutely every single edge that you can get. These agents are trained professionals and they are there to get the most money out of you, which is why you need to have an expert of your own in your own corner. The way it works, you find the property, then Scott will come in at the negotiation phase and take over for you. This is how you'll get the property for its true value. He'll ensure that you don't overpay. He comes in, knocks the real estate agent down on price. No more agent games, no more tricks, no more tactics. He is there for you. Scott has been kind enough to offer us an amazing discount on his service, and I've personally just seen a friend pay $20,000 more on a property because of these agent games. Reach out to him with the link below. It'll be the best property investment you will ever make.
Fantastic, Joe. You're looking younger these. Oh, there you go. You're starting to look more like Scott. So that's. I think I realised what we did with Gaz. I feel sorry now. Anyway, so I'm gonna stop. I think I know why that's happened, but I'll tell you guys after the show. So I'm going to introduce. This is the game of loans. It is Morgan. I'm excited. How good was that poster? Like I loved how the creativity. So I'm going to introduce you here. So Morgan, you've got you didn't confirm how many you had. So you at least got 4 properties. You started off, I think, with 40K on the first one, and then just. I think you believe you leapfrog, so we're going to get into that. So I'm not going to share that. I'm not going to spill the beans on that one. But you also works in the sort of banking finance. You worked in various roles and led up to private banking over 10 years. So you look far too young. When I thought that today, I was like, Morgan does not look at least 30. I mean, I'm just thinking like maybe you started at, I don't know, 16, but anyway. So you've been there and now you've sort of started to get into the broking. So you've now sort of translating that all across. You love cycling, you love running. I just see every weekend, it just makes me feel so lazy. It's like, what am I doing with my life? You're doing a cycle, you're doing a run, you're kicking goals, and apparently you're very competitive. So what is the most competitive thing you've ever done?
Ooh, geez. Mate, I'd probably say I threw myself into the world of triathlon for about a year, and I was like super focused on basically trying to qualify for what was the world stage for half Ironmans. So I went and did like a half Ironman in Geelong, and basically spent the better part of like a few solid months just like training my butt off to like try and get a good time. So I think that's probably the most competitive thing I think I've thrown myself into, to be honest.
Yeah, that was a good answer as well.
Yeah.
If somebody asked me that, I would have nothing. I wouldn't know. Oh, there's so many. I love competition, so yeah.
I love that. Okay, well, what we always like to do is ask the first question, not being about competition, but what book are you currently reading, Morgan?
Yeah, so at the moment, I'm reading Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins.
Oh, Goggins.
Yeah. I've almost finished that one, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So good.
Oh, there you go. That's the connection between triathlon and David Goggins. He is an absolute animal. Anyone out there, I highly recommend checking out that book. But even more, I wouldn't. The podcast, the audio book, the Audible version, because he has someone else narrating it, but then they have like a riff in between, and his story is just absolutely motivation station. So I am all about that.
How far through the book are you anyway, Morgan? Because that's a crazy book.
You're on mute, mate.
Oh, jeez. Why am I on mute? No, you should.
No, you're not on mute, mate. No, Morgan is. You got to press the mute button.
Nailed it. Sorry, I was going to say it's so inspiring to like see someone tap into that next level of mindset, because man, that guy puts himself through a world of hurt. And it's kind of inspiring, actually. Like, how far are you willing to mentally push yourself to achieve whatever goal it is you're aspiring to?
Yeah, no, it's just insane. Like I remember reading that book and just his upbringing, and it's kind of just we could talk. I could talk probably for hours on that, but let's get into. That's a great book, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. We another question that we love asking is about people's first investments, and I think we'll focus on this for about 5 or 10 minutes, and Joe will have some follow-up questions, I'm sure. But tell us about that first investment, and you're on fire, or you weren't on fire when you bought that. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, it was definitely not my best at all. Like, in fact, I like to think of it as my worst. Only because at the time, like, I hadn't educated myself enough in the right way, I guess. Like, and it was a place where I was working at the time. So, I kind of thought, oh, like, this is where I work. I know the area. And basically, like, for me, with my goals, like, I went and bought it, like, in a regional town. So Wagga Wagga is where I was working.
Yeah.
And basically, like, I always kind of focus on 3 things with a property. Like, it's got to be like cash flow neutral or positive, has to be in, like, a good area where you get growth. And if I can, like, create equity or buy well enough so that it's like at or below market value. So out of those 3 things, basically the only thing that I ticked was like cash flow, because I actually bought a property that someone had already renovated.
Because it looked good. You could move straight in.
No, it's like Wagga's a very diverse town, and it's probably in one of the areas that you may not necessarily want to live in, but have more as an investment with tenant. But it's just been one that hasn't really gone huge amount in value, but like the main thing is it still like covers itself, so it hasn't been massive impact on lifestyle.
Yeah. Okay. So what were some of the lessons that you learned from that? So you're telling me right now that you're not the happiest chappy about that purchase, but I think now I don't want to say people should go out there and have a rubbish first property, but having a rubbish first property like I have, like Jeff has, our first purchases were not very good. Actually spurs you on to learn and educate yourself a little bit more. Whereas when you get given a home run at the first one, you're like, oh, well, I'm complacent. I know everything about investing. I'm just going to keep doing this, and, until I can't anymore. But what were some of the key things that you took away that you're like, oh, wow, okay, what are the key things you took away?
Yeah, you definitely hit the nail on the head, because it's not until you put yourself in like that kind of, awkward position, you go, okay, this is where I am now. I've got to find a way to make it work. And like part of being like property investor is like you're a solution. Like you have to come up with solutions and solve problems. So like my learnings was like I bought that property in a trust. So like in some ways the like the deductions that you could have from that, it was kind of retained in the trust, and I couldn't expense it to myself for like tax purposes.
Yep.
So first property, like I didn't know a lot about the trusts, I guess more from like the cost perspective. But
why did you get one?
Hey?
Why'd you get a trust?
Be first, yeah.
Listen to my accountant, I guess. It's it's one of those things where I wish I had my time again, but that
person's still not still your accountant?
No.
Okay.
Okay, nice. No trust for a cash flow positive first investment. Obviously, not tax or financial advice.
And that's the thing. Like none of this, or even though Morgan, I believe, may have an ACL. I don't know. That gives him. He might be able to. Yeah. Anyway, so what are some of the other lessons you picked up from? So you bought that, considering not buying trust. Obviously, speak to your accountants, folks. That may be for you. But other things.
Yeah, so the main thing, the biggest learning from the whole process was I learned that like when you go look at buying a property, you kind of need a view of it as that'll help you get to the next one faster. And that's one thing I really failed to recognize, because once settlement had happened, I'm like, cool, it kind of covers itself. Let's go again. And then it's like, bank says no. And it's like, there's no equity in it, and you bought something that someone else has renovated. So it's like, yeah, cool. Like now I just need to kind of wait or find something cheap and try and find a way to make it work. So kind of having like whatever you buy, you have to help. Like it has to help you move forward to the next one. Otherwise, it's just going to slow down how quickly you can get to that next property.
Yeah, that's such a great way to think about it. And I think that's really the go-to, right? It is, I'm just going to dip my toe in. I'm going to get a low value, cash flow positive property and just kind of see how this property investing thing works out. Because if it covers its expenses, it's going to be a great option. And then I can start doing my research and start getting more interested later down the line. Again, something that I did, and no judgment here, Morgan, but we're excited, we're pumped, but then maybe we don't have that education. So I think you've then gone down a massive education slope. You've dived headfirst down into there. How did the second purchase go? What did you get?
Definitely. So kind of realizing the situation I was in, I quickly realized I had to buy something cheap where I could either add value or like basically find something that is cheaper and like be below market value. So for me, like I was really keen on doing like renovating. Like I'd never given it a go. Like heck, I was one of those guys who probably wouldn't know how to use a paintbrush. Like that's how green I was. But
so good.
yeah, like I started looking regional New South Wales again because really that's like all I could afford at the time. And like, I knew at the time Mount Druitt was good, but I literally had no money to like go in there without like kind of affecting my future borrowing capacity. So it was basically find something cheap to renovate. And yeah, like I came across a property that was like fire damaged, like literally could see right inside it from the street.
Wow.
It was really like really badly damaged. And so basically went and bought that. And
hold on. You don't just see a smoldering ember and then say, I'm going to go buy that. Like what did the process of purchasing that thing look like? Were you like, you know what? Real estate, it's got a roof. It's got, I can't see through it. I don't want it. Okay. I want to see through the entire house. What kind of due diligence did you do on a fire damaged property?
And which year and which location? I think I know location, but yeah, give us some more context if you're comfortable.
Yeah, Joe, there's no filter for that with realestate.com. It's yeah, so I think it was 2015 or 16. I bought in Orange, New South Wales again. So went there, like high level numbers. It was like I bought it for $80,000. So like a house.
Oh wow!
Where like probably the front facade was completely missing, so you could see right into the living room, through into the kitchen, and like it was a proper dump basically. And yeah, like some of the challenges that I experienced was like the biggest challenge was securing finance. And like after doing the numbers on it, like I knew it would be a good deal. It's just the biggest challenge was getting finance. And like for me, like, I worked in banking, so I was like, yeah, like, I can get this. Like I should be fine.
Didn't you commit to it without any sort of idea how you were going to fund it? Was that your story, or was that somebody? Yeah,
that's right. Like it was, I knew like if I could get to the end, like the numbers were great, but it was like, me kind of being naive and a bit kind of trusting in like my experience. I thought, oh, like, yeah, I work at the bank. I'm sure I'll be good for it. Well, I was so wrong. Like it was a nightmare because I just left it too late. Like banks wanted to do construction loan, ran out of time. So it was basically had to resort to getting a personal loan just to make it happen. And,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's massive.
Yeah.
It's like it wasn't more. It's like it wasn't like 180,000 or 280,000.
Nah, it was, thank goodness, because that would have been pretty stressful. Like it was already, but yeah, but then like had to borrow money to complete the reno as well from just an investor. And basically like after the tools were down, like everything was done, like I was able to pay out personal loan, investor, and then still have enough to basically do what I'd kind of foreseen after my challenges from Wagga, which was I could move forward to the next one.
Yeah. Interesting. That's so your first property. You don't do things by half measures. You've got a full fire damage property, and then you've gone with a joint venture with an investor to be able to get over the line. Interesting.
Yeah.
And so, before I'm still interested about the due diligence on the fire damage? Did you get someone to go through and say that this is structurally sound and it's all okay? It's just a cosmetic thing and we just need to scrape off the ash, or like, what did that look like?
Yeah, definitely. So like the one thing I wanted to do is make sure that if it was a property that had like these, things happen to it, I wanted to make sure that it wouldn't present any like big problems for me where costs would be like quite high.
Yeah.
So
100%.
before actually going to auction, because it was an auction, I went through the property with a builder, and basically they said, look, there's nothing structurally wrong with it. It's just like, it is what it is. So you're going to have to spend a lot to bring it up to a livable standard. So basically by interviewing builders and finding the one that would help me kind of do it within my budget, that's what minimized that risk, because apart from getting finance, that was my next biggest challenge, I guess, with that property.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. Okay, so what was the result? So you bought it for $80K. You had a mortgage on it via personal loan. So you've had the debt via personal loan and investor. So it was $80K. How much was the renovation, and then what was the revalue worth?
Yeah, so the total reno was about 50 grand. So basically 130 all in.
140, yeah.
Yeah, and then the reval afterwards was 180. So
nice.
It was about 50 grand in equity there.
30 or 50, 30 or 40% sort of increase just by the reno.
Yeah, that's right. So
bloody great.
So how did you? Joe probably we could talk about this probably for a session. But how did you know that? Because if I'm looking at an area that's been property's been burnt, how did you know the area was okay? Because I'm just thinking that's a little concerning. I'm like, how do I know that it's not going to happen again?
Fair enough.
Yeah, look, I did a lot of groundwork before. Obviously, I signed the dotted line, and it comes down to doing a fair bit of research too. Speaking to real estate agents, kind of getting comfort from that perspective, property managers as well, sure that it's going to rent out well as well once you're done. But looking at comparables with the same sort of figures, I knew, at least at a minimum what it would come in that I'd be okay with. And it was actually 20 grand higher. So I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah. But in terms of the area as well, in terms of if there was going to be issues with not the demographics, how did you know that was going to be an area that may see, because I imagine you've seen some capital growth in that property as well. Yeah,
definitely have. No one really has a crystal ball to that sense where they know 8 or to 10 years from down the line, how well it will actually go. But I liked Orange as far as a capital city goes, because it's close to Sydney, but it's not too far away, like Wagga, for example. Yeah. And something that we've all gone through with lockdown, people are more likely to leave capital cities now and work abroad. So the actual area itself, it's basically bordering on housing commission area. So where I bought, it was actually a good pocket in that area, but there were surrounding areas, maybe probably 500 meters or a kilometer away that you wouldn't walk past during the day, let alone at night. So yeah, it was a good pocket.
Otherwise they'd burn your house down.
Can confirm I've got insurance for that.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, oh, it's still on fire. We'll just throw another match on it. Absolutely. Okay. So then what happened? You've got 2 properties under your belt. All of a sudden, you've now got your deposit. You got your deposit back. You paid off your investor. Did you would then put a loan onto the property to pull out equity from a bank? How was that process? What did that actually? You're a mortgage broker. I can ask this question. What did that look like in a little bit more detail to actually remortgage a place and put a mortgage on it to be given equity to then buy another property? Was it in cash? I don't know. Maybe talk me through it. What does it look like?
Yeah, sure. So basically once all the tools were down and I had a tenant in there and everything, it was a matter of, okay, I want to have access to this equity because I was starting to think about my next property. So what happened is I approached the bank and said, look, I would like to draw a loan. I want to have access to this equity. And so the process really was, do like a normal application with them and they'll send the valuer out. And so once the valuation is complete, it's basically like 80% of that increase in value from what it originally was. So that became kind of like my equity that I could use to then kind of snowball to the next property.
But but you didn't have a mortgage on it before. You would have only had to have paid out the investors, and you would have had your own deposit on there as well. So 80% of the value, they would have refinanced back to, it was 180, so 80% of that. What's that?
And then 45,000 approximately.
Yeah, and then they gave you cash to be able to pay out the investor.
Yeah, that's right. So once like the loan was drawn against the value of the property, it was a matter of, okay, pay off personal loan, pay off investor, and then have the rest ready, sitting in an offset account, waiting for when I find that next property. So
fantastic. Boom. Deposit ready to go.
Yeah.
And then when did you buy number 3? Did you sort of go pretty quickly?
Yeah, then I kind of got onto basically doing like one every year after that. And yeah, like, it's funny, like as an investor, I'm sure a few people can agree, right? Like when the more you tend to kind of like purchase, I guess, or the more you like spend in this space, the more you just kind of learn what, like, where's good to buy. And like you just become smarter, I guess. And like I'd met a lot of like-minded people who, like people in this forum, for example, like you just kind of learn from people who've maybe done what you're trying to achieve to do. So you kind of gain like little bits of nugget of gold from them and then apply that to your own strategy. So
did you ever hit up Property Chat?
I wasn't sure if I was allowed to say that here, but
we're not too fussy. I mean, whatever.
Well, that's what I like about Facebook groups is like it's not a winner take all market. It is everyone helping everyone. It's just literally there are investors out there that don't have an idea about the investment space or they have a question, and it doesn't matter where you get throw it anywhere. It's not like having someone in another group is going to be a negative impact on our group. That's the best part. It's like everybody grows together. Which is cool.
Yeah. But so like I discovered Property Chat. And for me, like that was a complete like game changer, just meeting more people who were like trying to do the same thing as me or had like already done it, because then I could just leverage their knowledge, and that just helped me kind of take things to the next level.
Yeah, that was originally Summersoft, I'm pretty sure. Like with Jan Summers, and then she sold it.
Yeah,
that was amazing for him, and probably still is. I don't know.
It still is. There's still so much value in there. You research something, you'll see a great forum, an article on there. One of the things I think is worthwhile to mention is like there is so much research. There's so many books out there, and they're really awesome and they're really valuable. But actually, I think this is one of you. I read it this morning. I was like, I'm going to put forward an article that I read this morning. It was actually your article that is in the realestate.com. I think it was real estate. And the thing that you said was like, don't get too excited. Like, go out there and get educated, but actually put, your tool, grab the tools and speak to the people and talk to the investors. Don't just read the books, actually engage and get involved, because that's when you've actually got money on the line and you're actually engaging and getting more involved instead of just sitting there and just reading and flicking through the pages, because it's not as active as not. I love that. That's my next quote of the week.
Yeah, 100%, Joe. Like, I mean, we never talked about it, but like leading up to my first purchase, I think I was like reading books and like self-educating that way for maybe almost a year. And it wasn't until I actually started to like kind of put myself out there and start speaking to more and more people that like things just slowly started to come more and more in motion.
100%.
Like, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just looking at the time and we're already 29 minutes in. So
let's get into the loan. Should we get into the finance side of things?
No, let's give people a bit of a foundation for what this conversation is actually going to be about, because I think that's going to be incredibly like just to frame it a little bit. So what we're going to talk about is,
let's do some foreplay. Can we do foreplay? Yeah.
We do what? So we'll talk about investment savvy mortgage brokers and some of the questions that you should ask investment savvy mortgage brokers, and then understanding and kind of getting a deeper dive of what that actually looks like. And then what are we looking at? I've written the stuff down. Now I write stuff down and I don't even look
Come on,
at
mate. Just go over, man. It's okay. You don't need to get it right. I know you really want to add value, but okay, go. Come on, Joe. Sorry, you go.
Well, let's talk about investment savvy mortgage brokers, because one of my experience with mortgage brokers is my first experience with a mortgage broker was walking into a franchise with this beautiful shiny office, and he was like, "Joe, you need a mortgage?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's why I'm here." And he's like, "Great, I'll get you the best rate." And I'm like, "Perfect, get me the best rate." I don't know. Do I want the best rate? What's the difference between someone that gives you a rate and a mortgage broker that's actually investment savvy? Like, let's have a bit of a discussion around what an investment savvy mortgage broker is, and some of the things you should be asking your mortgage broker as an investor to pull those nuggets out.
Great question, Joe. Love it.
There's a lot in there. Sorry, mate.
It was very, very passionate, by the way, mate. It was really good. Like some of the questions like you should be asking your mortgage broker, especially one that's like investment savvy, and that is your goal as well, is like I would be starting, if you haven't already started, like start the discussions early, because they can share a wealth of knowledge and kind of give you like a look behind the curtain as to what you need to do to like become financially fit. And it's something that like even we would hear in banking as well. Like basically you want to make sure that when you get ready to do that loan application, like everything's good. Like you may, for example, I don't know, everyone's different, but like you may be using things like a credit card, or you might have a really large limit on your credit card that maybe you don't need to use. You might have like a buy now, pay later facility that you're not even using. So like they'll go through all these things with you to make sure that like when you actually really are ready, that like you're going to hit the ground running, because every like property investor, at least at the beginning, is normally held back by like either servicing or access to equity. So you want to make sure you've got the best possible chance of starting really well, because that first property in some ways can actually be the most important. Unless you're like Joe and myself, then you kind of have to readjust and then get yourself back on track.
I'm part of the crew as well. I don't want to feel left out here, guys.
Jeff messed it up as well. I mean, the buyer's agent helped him mess it up, but they did. they did it together. I like, so actually in my phone again, another quote that I have is you've only got to like simplify things a little bit more for yourself. Like the property and finance, they're not too complicated. You've either got your servicing or your cash and your equity, and those two things are never equal. And whatever you're lacking in, target that, and then you'll be able to then get the next opportunity that you have. So what are some of the ways? Like, let's just say I've got a lot of equity, but I don't have a high salary. What are some of the things that I would be needing to do from an investment perspective?
Can I ask that question a different way? Like, how can I continue to borrow? Because that's your serviceability is going to be an issue probably. So how can I continue to borrow if I'm in that scenario?
Yeah, definitely. And like this definitely isn't like financial advice, but like I mean, you need to focus probably more on like doing things to improve your servicing. So if it is maybe your first one, like perhaps look at something that's more angled towards like better cash flow. But at the same time, I'd want to know like what that person's goals are like outside the property journey too. Like, do they see themselves increasing salary through like climbing corporate ladder? Like, what are their kind of goals outside that? Because
what about the side hustle, mate? I mean, corporate's great, but let's talk side hustle. Let's talk
like you know, how committed are you? Like, do you really want to build like a big portfolio? Do you see yourself doing stuff like Uber on weekends, or like, you know, part-time job, that kind of stuff? Because if you can increase your salary, like even a 10 grand increase can really improve your servicing.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things actually. From some of the people, like we interview a lot of people in this group, and some of the people that have massive portfolios, like big 10, 15s, the thing that they say the most, and they don't say it to be, you know, mean about it, but it's like, get a better job. Do more. Invest in yourself so you can take yourself to the next level, so you can get your investing to the next level, so you can have a higher salary to be able to borrow more. Because without that, if you've done everything you can to maximize credit cards and do everything around that, it's going to make it, you're going to hit a ceiling and you're not going to be able to do much. So maybe focus on that a little bit more.
I think I'm going to ask some questions that may help with unlocking some of that ceiling, but I don't want to steal the thunder from later in the show. So,
well, there you go. There you go. Thanks, Jeff.
So where were we? So I think we were sort of talking about savage, not savage,
savage mortgage broker. Okay, we're looking for these savage mortgage brokers. So what happens? Like, what would you say to somebody that walks into your office that says, "Hey, Morgan, give me the best rate. I'm looking to build a property portfolio, and really to be kind of, to get a good, successful property portfolio, you need like 3 to 7 properties to really start getting the cogs moving." And they're like, "I want to do this. This is my end goal up here. But dude, give me the best rate. How do I do that?" What would be some kind of the things that you'd say to help that client out a little bit? Because it's a fair enough question. Like, I want to minimize my expenses and maximize my return. What's that sound like?
Yeah, true. And I mean, look, investors, like, you're running your own business, so you want to obviously minimize costs where you can. But at the same time, like, access to capital and like money, that's maybe for a lot of us the one resource we don't have enough of, apart from like time, for example. So like, if you wanted to grow a portfolio and have like the lowest rate possible, like, you can't have your cake and eat it too when it comes to lending. I would say, look, what's more important to you, like having the lowest rate or building a portfolio? And I'd let them answer that question, because
what's the answer to that question? Like, that's more of like a rhetorical question, surely.
Maybe it's not like
it is. I mean, but in the sense, like, when you're building portfolio, like, obviously, you want to keep those expenses down, but if it's building a large portfolio, like, there's a pretty strategic way of going about it with lenders, because you want to maximize borrowing capacity. And if someone walked into my office and said that, like, I'd be like, yeah, sure. Like, obviously, if your goal is to build portfolio, we'll like map that out and show you what it looks like. But at the same time, like, we're going to do our best to make sure with these specific lenders, we'll get you the best rate as well, because that's also important too.
I'm going to build your portfolio and get a crap rate. We're going to help you build your portfolio whilst also aiming for the best rate. So I think that's a big misconception we're kind of debunking there.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like, the way I like to think about it is, you can get the best rate. I've got the best rate, and you can go to your friends and go to the barbecue, and you can tell people how great you are about having the best rate.
Paying 0.5% principal and interest, which is not.
And then the next person walks in and they're like, "Oh man, I'm paying 20 basis points more than you. Oh, that's a shame. Oh, but also I have $300,000 more borrowing capacity than you. So I'm actually able to then purchase another property. So not only am I now leveraging another, $300,000 extra asset, and oh, by the way, you've just saved yourself $800, person number one. So you've really got to balance those two things. If you're looking to save $800, or are you looking to buy another property that's going to make you tens of thousands of dollars? Which one would you prefer, Mr. Customer?
Definitely.
Which one? Is that another rhetorical question, Joe? Or
that's another rhetorical question. That is.
So getting, I want to debunk another, because it's the thing that I came across a lot as well, is people would say, "Oh, well, you're going to send me as a broker, you're going to send me to the lender that gives you the most commission." So.
Very good question.
Let's unpack this, because I'm sure a lot of people are thinking that. Well, how do you approach that when a client asks you that?
Yeah, like, the broking industry itself has come a long way since it was established. Back in the day, it was kind of like Wild Wild West, and a lot of brokers got a bad reputation because they put their interests ahead of their clients. Since we had like Royal Banking Commission, there's been a bigger spotlight on providing what's called best interest duty, where mortgage brokers have to demonstrate that they act in the best interest of their client. and they also have to like show their clients how much commission they will get paid from a number of options that they presented to them.
Yep.
So yeah, like, and I mean, work it's around. Like if people get that feeling that like you're just looking after yourself instead of them, like it's not going to do you any favors in the long run. Like it's just like karma, right? Like it'll come back to bite you in the ass as a business owner.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're not doing anyone any favors if people are still doing that. But yeah, that's really where the industry's at now, and I think it's come a long way since its beginning.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's to put it in perspective. Like usually, if one of the lenders, you'd get up to sort of 1.5% commission, but if you go to that lender, you're going to also pay a rate of 1%, about 1% more. And I would sort of think, if I'm a customer, I'm going to ask that question. Well, why am I paying? Why am I going to get a loan for 4.5%? And it's kind of, you have to justify that to the customer. You're not just going to be able to get away with it, I think, anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And like since we had the Raw Banking Commission, like how brokers now get paid, like the commissions, whether it's trail or upfront, it's not like the variance between each bank. It's not as big as it used to be. But also there's like almost no incentives, like cash bonuses, for example, of bringing clients to that specific bank. It's definitely a lot less of like conflict in that regard. So yeah, it's all about the client, really, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's just going to come back to you as a broker. But how do we differentiate? Like, what are some of the questions that we can ask a broker to stump some of the ones that are not so good, right? Like that one that I walked into had the best rate. He had a very shiny office. It was it was on the corner of the street. It was like the best location. He gave me like 100 glossy brochures. He even gave me some investment advice, which was pretty terrible now looking back.
Did he give you a coffee and a lollipop, Joe, as well?
Didn't get a lollipop. Did not get a lollipop. But what are some of the questions that we can ask a broker to be able to discern that?
Yeah, like especially if it depends, I guess, what your kind of goal is. But like if it's like investor, right? Like if it was me, I'd want to know that the person I'm trusting to look after my finances has kind of like achieved what I'm looking to achieve as well, right? Because like as long as they're good at their job and you have that confidence, like as an investor as well, like you can kind of tap into their knowledge base as well from that perspective. So like I'd be asking them, you know, if they're saying I'm investment savvy, then it's like, okay, like how? Like show me like, you know, like what properties do you own? Like what advice can you give? Like what services do you provide that make you like investment savvy? Because you know, any broker can give you a loan, but it's like, how are you going to help me achieve my goals as an investor? Like show me
the money.
Not even show me your money. It's just literally a normal conversation that you have with somebody. You're like, oh, awesome. What kind of portfolio have you got? Oh man, I don't invest in property. I'm really more of a shares type of guy. You know, I've got got my hand in crypto. So you're giving out loans and you're trying to give me like financial advice around shares and stuff. No, I'm actually wanting someone that actually invests in property, that has gone down the route that I've gone down.
Joe, can I push back a little bit and just kind of, I'm interested in your thoughts, because I'm more concerned, have they gotten clients to that? I mean, if they've gotten to it, great, but I want to see that they've gotten 10 to 15 to 20 clients or whatever it is. And it's the same with an accountant. Some accountants don't invest in property, but they're great at achieving the results for multiple clients who've invested in property. Is that a fair call, or am I sort of out of line?
I'd say no. I'd just be like, okay, cool. You don't invest in property? Like, I don't know.
But ultimately, though, if they've got a property investor,
but they can't prove that. They can't they can't show you their clients, so they're going to hide behind the veil of client confidentiality.
Are they going to show you their
if they haven't got a property portfolio? Yeah. That's it. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
There's brokers like Morgan out there that are turning $40,000 into 5 properties in a very fast amount of time. So if they don't have a property portfolio, I don't have time for you. But yeah, it's probably a fair enough question, Jeff. Actually, it is. It's probably a very fair question if they've gotten their clients there. But what are your thoughts, Morgan? Have you dealt with mortgage brokers that are sensational at finding their clients and amazing property portfolios and helping them build that without their own portfolio?
Yeah, when I started, I guess I started going direct to the bank, but then from there, I then actually looked for an investment savvy mortgage broker myself because, I wanted to have someone there to basically do what we've just been talking about. In saying that though, if for example, that mortgage broker isn't an investor per se, I would give them a bit of a chance with what Jeff said. I would want to know that they specialize in helping investors because they may not be able to relate firsthand, but they could give examples through clients without name dropping as well. So I'd want to give them at least a chance to prove themselves either through that first meeting or not. But
and what are some of the
help someone that's done it themselves?
What are some of the questions that we can have and ask to get them to prove themselves? What are going to be some of those key things that you're going to ask them as an investor, not as a mortgage broker? Take your mortgage broker hat off, but what if I'm just a normal person just walking in? What can I ask to find out? Are you a good one or are you not a good one?
Yeah, that's probably a good start. They'll probably say I'm good. I think the first thing you'd want to ask is what do you specialize in? If they don't say property investing, then I probably wouldn't be interested. But then, if that is something that they do, then I'd be okay, what makes you special? What do you do that makes you different to the mortgage broker down the road? What is your niche? How do you help people achieve their dreams and goals through property investing? Because if they can't show you what the end goal looks like, or at least give you confidence in that, then why would you partner with someone like that?
Then they haven't done it for clients, no matter how many kind of shiny names that they give you of people they've supposedly helped. It's pretty hard to fake this kind of thing, I think. But,
hey, one other thing that's worthwhile doing is just throwing out the test. Hey, can you get me the best rate? Yeah, absolutely. But why do you want the best rate? Yeah. If they push back, I am so happy being the dumbest person in the room, because that means I've got someone working on my side helping me through. And if they say, no, Joe, hold on, I'm perfect. Okay, I've now got something to learn. And if they're willing to push back at this stage before they even know me, amazing. They're going to give me insights and share and help and say, no, Joe, you don't want the cheapest rate. You want to reduce your debt. You need a better borrowing capacity because the salary is too low, or you blah, 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 blah. And you keep going like that. Amazing. Okay. I like that. One thing that I wanted to understand a little bit more is, when do we go to second and third tier lenders?
That's it, Joe. Great. I was about to ask that because you mentioned the kind of strategy, and I was talk us through how that works.
Yeah, sure. So, typically, it's not the one you go to first. If your goal is to build a portfolio, right? What you would normally do is you'd start with something like one of the big four. And it'd get to a point with those where you would reach a servicing wall, right? And obviously, provided you have enough equity and servicing to keep going, that's when you would start to look at second tiers. Now, if you've been paired up with a broker that's kind of helped you set up for that next phase of going to second tier, they would have probably had the conversation with you about what's more important for you, whether it's having your loans on principal and interest or interest only. Now, the benefit of using a second tier bank is, unlike the bigger banks, they don't load as bigger servicing buffer onto your existing commitments. Some will load a lesser amount, or some won't load any at all. They'll just take the actual repayments. So that's when having your loans on interest only can help with those that use actuals.
I think Joe wants to ask to unpack the servicing buffer. Is that what you want to ask, Joe?
Thanks, Jeff. That's exactly it. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, good question. Here's so look, I'll share something with everyone that I prepared earlier. So I'll just
here's one I prepared
share my screen with everyone. Give me a second. All right.
Oh, we got it. We got it.
All right. So can you guys see that?
Is this? Are we talking about? Is this the new changes with the banks?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Oh,
So
well, let's not go. Let's not go here just yet because
all right.
because I want to understand this second and third second tier lender, and then I want you to tell us what tell us. Okay, we'll go to that after. But when do you go to a second tier lender? Like we start off as a first tier lender, but when like a first tier deposit taking institution, which is the big four banks. Now I'm using your words and I'm messing them all up. But what is a deposit taking institution? When do we go to second tier? When do we go to third tier, and why?
Yeah, cool. So yeah, you'd obviously like if the goal is to build a portfolio, right? You want to start with the banks that are generally the strictest first, because doing it the other way around, it's just gonna mess things up. And also like the big four is generally where you start because most of them, like that's where you'll start. Some of them have good rules in regards to using equity as well. So you kind of want to get the most out of them as possible because of their borrowing capacity rules as well. So once you've maxed out with those big four banks, that's when you'd start to look at second tiers. And that's because if your income stays the same and other commitments, like let's just say everything's the same, those big four banks will then say, sorry, in our eyes, you can't borrow anymore.
Yep.
And why is that? Why do they say that? Are they controlled by some type of body?
Yeah, it's basically controlled by like APRA. So they set the guidelines on what is responsible lending. And for the big four, like they have to, because they've got a bigger foothold on market, bigger market share, they need to basically abide by responsible lending more than like second, third tiers. Like the second and third tiers do follow, but generally the big four are the ones that have to be more responsible because of their market share.
Yep.
So yeah, that's why you normally start at the big four when building a portfolio. So when it does get to that point where you have reached the limit with them, that's when it kind of makes sense to go to your second tier banks.
For most clients, it's got to run into, where does it typically, I mean, I think I know the answers, but where do you typically run into that wall with the first tier lenders?
Great question.
Is in like number of properties or number of banks?
Number of properties.
Well, like value.
Oh, yeah,
both.
I mean,
let's go both.
Yeah, like, I mean, it kind of depends like on property value and stuff like that. But like, let's just say it's probably like either after one or two.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, like it used to be a lot more than that back in the day. Like you could squeeze a lot more out, but it's just with how the market and lending market has been. So I'd probably say two. It just depends on your level of income, like the cash flow of the property,
and the
everyone's
price.
different. Yeah. Like it could be two, it could be four. It just depends on your level of income, basically, I'd say. But
that's crazy. Yeah. So just to recap what this is, you build out as much as you can with the big four because they've got kind of the strictest regulations and they're controlled by APRA, so they have to do what they're told. And then you can start to phase out to some of the people that are a little bit more looser. And now they're a little bit more looser because they take on a little bit more risk. They take on a bit more risk, so they have to get paid a higher interest rate. So that is why the interest rate's a little bit higher, because they're taking on a higher risk because they're servicing a bit more debt.
I'd say that's potentially a myth, though, bro. I mean, second-tier lenders aren't always more expensive, are they? Because
what's a second-tier lender? Can we name what a second, like the actual NAB is not a second-tier lender, CommBank is not a second-tier lender. What are second-tier lenders?
Yeah, so like typical second tiers are like basically your kind of non-big four. So it could be like you could almost argue Macquarie's somewhere in like the middle there, but they're like a great.
It's almost a big five now because you've got Macquarie's that are really playing in that residential lending space now, whereas 5 years ago they weren't really. They've made it.
So we're talking like St. George,
like St. George's, your First Mac, Resimac. I don't know. Like I used to think.
ING second tier, but they're a funny one, ING, because they're one of the harder lenders to go.
Aren't they connected with NAB? No.
You're thinking of UBank.
Oh, yeah.
Ubank. Like them. Bank West is another second tier, although they're kind of connected to CBA. Yeah.
Funny story about Bankwest,
Yeah.
So then
interesting.
And then we've got the third tier lenders, and this is where we start going a little bit. What are those type of ones? What are they
That's
called?
for the real property addicts, I'd have to say.
Is this like do they own? Actually, here's a question that it might be a newbie question, but do they only see like third tier lenders only see investors, or do they see people like no?
Yeah.
And why do people go to them for a normal purchase?
Yeah, sorry, I thought Jeff you were going to go, but
I'll go, and you correct me if I'm wrong. I shouldn't jump in because you're probably.
It's the guest, mate. But I've got two mortgage brokers here. Just so everyone that knows on this group, Jeff used to be a mortgage broker, and Morgan's a mortgage broker, and I'm just here in the middle trying to just control these two. So I apologise for these outbursts here. It's just unruly.
The reason why somebody who's not invested would go to a third tier, and I'll let you kind of talk to more of this, is that they would have some credit impairment. So they might have been discharged bankrupts, they might have a lower credit score, all these. And that doesn't mean you have to go to these people, but it's just where you've got something that's a bit out of the box, something that a first or second tier lender's not going to like. But yeah, carry on, Morgan.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, yeah, like they will, like as Joe said, they take on more risk. So banks basically, in order to pay for that, like they will charge through the interest rates. So, like the likes of a third tier, their rates aren't going to be as good as a first or second tier. That's just a fact. But with that, your borrowing capacity just goes that little bit further. Like typical kind of third tiers, like, I don't know, I'd kind of see like Pepper as a middle between 2 and 3. Otherwise, you're looking at the likes of Liberty or Bluestone from there, I'd say.
Yeah, and this is where we go back to controlling. What have you got more? Have you got more of a cash and deposit, or have you got more of borrowing capacity?
Yeah.
What do you need to focus on? Focus on most. Okay, cool. Let's shift some gears now. What we want to talk about now is what these new banking changes that have been. APRA slipped a little letter to the big banks, and all of a sudden everyone's very, very scared that there's massive handbrake like there was in 2017, 2018. And the property market is going to come grinding to a halt, and we're all going to crash, and everything's going to be absolutely crazy. Now, I've set that up nicely, so I'd love you to talk to that, Morgan, but we have to run our second ad. So let's do that, and then we can jump in and you can tell us about what this thing actually is and how it's going to affect everyone. You like that? You like that one, Jeff?
A cliffhanger. Well done.
Thanks, mate. I knew you'd like that. Let's talk about commercial property investing. It's one of those areas that confuses many people, probably because of the risks involved, but it's also one of the few asset classes that can give you a very positive cash flow from day one. With commercial property, you get some massive net yields of 6 to 10%. Now, that's not gross, that's net, which means it's cash in your pocket. This is what makes them so amazing. Your property can actually pay itself off within 10 years, grow in value, and without having you to chip in any cash at all. Now, with big rewards comes some big risk, which is why you should de-risk your investment as much as possible. The way you do this is with expert due diligence. This is why we highly recommend hiring professionals to help you along in your investing journey. Steve Polisi of Polisi Property is one such expert. He is one of Australia's top commercial property buyer's agent. With his own multi-million-dollar property portfolio of a mix of commercial and residential, Steve has over 1,200 property transactions under his belt. He is the guy you want in your corner, crunching the numbers, finding the best properties in the best location, along with the ways to avoid the dud properties. Steve has even been the one to write the book on commercial property investing in Australia, and it's a bestseller. He's been generous enough to give us a massive discount to our audience of 50% with the code OZPROP. Click the link below, get a copy today, and start your commercial property investing journey.
Smooth. So while Joe fixes up his screen, I saw one of Jerry's questions. She asked about Latrobe, and Latrobe is often one that gets a little, whether that's a third tier. I would say they're kind of a second, 2.5 tier lender. I don't know. I wouldn't say they're second, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely are. Like they have some pretty good niches. But I don't know, like their rates, like thinking about lease rates and borrowing capacity, like, yeah, they're probably in the middle between the two, I would say.
Yeah, I think that they used to have one where you could use you
Okay, Jeff, you told me if me and Morgan start talking about boring mortgage broking stuff, I'm going to stop you. And here, I'm going to stop you now because I don't care if someone's a third tier or a second tier. I only care about the mortgage they're going to give me. But what I'm more interested in is about APRA ripping up this bloody handbrake to stop the property market in its tracks. Is this the truth, fiction? What have they done, and what does it mean? Please, Morgan, please.
Take it away.
Yeah, sure. So, like, to be honest, what they've done is they've announced that they're going to be increasing the servicing buffer that they already apply to existing rates. Yep. So the increase is 50 basis points or 0.5% on top of the existing buffer. So for those that don't know, the current buffer with these major banks is about 2.5 on top of the existing rate. Now, a few banks have like what's called a ceiling on the total assessment rate. Now, that aside, they have decided that they'll increase this buffer by the 5 basis points. So what does that all mean? Like, what does that have an effect on you? Well, basically, after crunching some numbers ahead of time with these guys, like the actual impact on your borrowing capacity is about 5%. So I think
do you want to bring up the slide now so we can see it?
Yeah, bring up the slide now, because one of the things I was reading is that this is a small measure in terms of like what the bank has actually done. The APRA says they do not want to instigate. They don't want to get too involved with the property market. They don't want to pull up these handbrakes. And this measure that they've put forward is not something that is a massive handbrake. That is not. It's kind of like what they've promised. They've said, "I don't want to put a handbrake up."
They want to
bring it up.
Yeah, sure. Here we go. I'll bring it up. So
this will give us some good insights.
To talk to Joe's point, they want to protect the stability of the banking and financial system, I suppose.
Yeah, that as well.
Yeah,
like it's the actual change in this. So as you can see, I've kind of try to keep it as relatable as possible. So general couple based on ABS Bureau statistics, couple has like one child, and let's just say both in the household earn 95 grand. So not everyone's obviously going to relate to this. Like everyone's different, right? But just for the sake of demonstration, I've kind of gone with someone that wants to borrow the max, say they don't have any commitments, and they just want to borrow as much as possible for their first property. So you can see here on the left, use basically a 5% here assessment rate. So based on that, so the blue here is your borrowing power. That's basically how much a bank would be willing to lend a couple that both earn 95,000, no commitments, and a child.
So when we say no commitments, we're talking about it, no credit cards, no property loans, or
none, which to be honest is really rare. Like it's quite rare to come across people with this particular, like no commitments, but like for the sake of demonstration, it's just kind of good to show like max borrowing.
Yeah. And this actually looks, so one thing to point out is that this chart starts at 1.31 million. So it's actually a lot smaller as a gap. If you look at it from like, what is it from a revenue perspective, like actual value perspective? Because it looks scary. This thing looks a little scary.
Look, it does. But if you actually pay attention to the numbers, it starts here at like 1.4, right? But then say we go through this, 50 basis points increase, it actually drops to 1.34. So borrowing capacity only drops by 60 grand in lending. So really, like, guys, that's actually not a huge amount. That's like basically, the difference between maybe getting that last property in your portfolio or not, but it's not going to like be that massive handbrake that we saw in years gone by. I I think, you definitely hit the nail on the head, Joe. Like it's enough to maybe see the effect of what could happen, but it's not a massive handbrake per se. And I think the media really did jump on that. But really, when you delve into the numbers, it's not a dramatic impact. Like I'd probably go as far to say, I'll just take this off the screen, actually, if we're done. Yeah. I'd probably go as far to say that these impacts probably won't affect home buyers as much as it would probably affect property investors. And why do I say that? Well, getting back to this 2.5 versus 3% loading buffer, right? Like for some people that have home loans that are below, say, 2.5%, this increase may not affect them as much as someone who's got a property investment loan where it's like maybe, 3 or 3.5%. So after that change, it's just a bigger impact for investors as opposed to home buyers as well.
So why is that? Because they already have an extra couple of percent tacked on?
Yeah, that's right. Whereas like for some home buyers, depending on obviously which bank you go to, some may have rates lower than 2.5%. Not all banks obviously are that sharp, but I'd probably say for the most number of people, like it's really just the 5% that would be the impact.
Did that make sense to everyone? Not anyone. Did it make sense to everyone? Are there any questions around any of that? Because I know that we can get very deep into the numbers, and sometimes when you know something like you guys do, it can get like, you kind of lose track of that. But you're really good at filling in the blanks and helping us through this. So I think that makes a good lot of sense. Yeah. So, okay. So it's not that scary. It's not that bad. The APRA is not ripping up a handbrake. They're not doing what they've done before. They're putting it slowly and just trying to, why have they done this? Have you got any insights around that, or maybe not insights, but any idea or thoughts around that?
Yeah. Like, I think it's one of those things where it's like a balancing act, right? Like the fact that they haven't done the whole handbrake thing like they did a few years ago, they're really taking into consideration the Australian economy as a whole. Because if they did that, we're still at a point where like employment and inflation isn't quite where RBA would like it to be, which is why we haven't seen an RBA rate increase. RBA is expecting rates to like increase in 2024. So I think, like, this is my opinion at least, like, I have a feeling this is like a test to see what the impact will be from this, and it'll be a wait and see. It could maybe lead to more increases, or it may not. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but that's at least what they're trying to do, is just really take a bit of the steam out of the property market, but not completely flatten it either.
Yeah, and I suspect they'll give it 3 months and sort of see if the prices continue to sort of settle down to make sure that there's that banking stability.
Yeah, definitely.
Maintained.
Interesting. Okay, we usually jump to questions at the end, but I've got a really good one about this exact situation. Does this mean that if you earn so we're talking about $60,000 drop, right? That's what that chart was. If we got $60,000 more in wages, do we get to borrow that $1.4 million again? Is that what they're accessing there, or are the calculators a bit more complicated than that? So
no, it's a bit more complicated than that, because like if your wage increased by 60 grand and you're looking to achieve that previous amount, like think about it, I guess from a mortgage broking perspective, I'm thinking like the debt to income ratio, which is another like KPI that banks look at, right? If your wage increased by that much, you'd probably be able to borrow more than that original amount.
Like 2.4. Like,
yeah.
Maybe.
So,
maybe not. Maybe
multiply
not.
that by like what, 7. So like another, like what, my head maths is really bad right now.
We don't do, that's one thing that we don't do here, is we don't do public math. So you guys are just going to have to get calculators
It's been a long day of crunching numbers. So I'm sorry, I'm all number crunched out today, guys.
We don't do it in public. That's absolutely fine, Morgan. Not on this show. So you just said something that's a little interesting to me, is you said times it by 7. So if I am to earn an extra $10,000 in my job, right? If I earn 100K right now, let's just say that, and I earn 110, does that mean I can earn an additional 70? I can borrow an additional $70,000, all things being equal? Is that the kind of rough guide that I can go with?
Yeah, I wouldn't say yes, but then I wouldn't say no. Like everyone, like you have to understand, like you can't really give like general advice,
Of course.
to someone like that, because everyone's different. Like you have to understand everything on a granular level about them. But yeah, like it's really hard to give that a like yes or no answer, I'd say.
But it's a kind of rule of thumb that you have in your mind a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Like rule of thumb, like some banks allow you to push higher. Some don't even measure debt to income ratio either. So
wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got a friend, and he has one of those mortgage brokers that you walk in and they say, I'm going to give you the best rate, and then they mess you about for the next 6 weeks. And he said, you know what, Joe, screw it. I'm just going to go direct to the bank. And I'm like, oh God, do not go direct to the bank.
Yeah.
Why, Morgan? Why should he not go direct to the bank?
Look, it's unfortunate that he had a bad experience with a broker, but like, I think, look, there's merits in both. Don't get me wrong. And I mean, I can say that because I've worn both hats, right? But, it'd be reminiscent for me to say, like, even as an investor, like a mortgage broker is like your best friend. Like, comes back to what I said before, like access to like equity and capital, like that's where a broker can really help you grow a portfolio. If you go to the one bank, they might be able to give you like 1 or 2 loans, but then that's it, you're done. And that's on the idea that you do get a good lender. Like people come and go from banks, like either the good employees get promoted or the bad ones leave. So, if you can find a broker who's committed to their job, then yeah, you'll be able to go back to someone time and time again as well. So there's that continuity piece as well.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're an investor and you're kind of tapped out of borrowing capacity, you're then going to walk into the big branches. You're going to walk into NAB, you're going to walk into CBA, you're going to walk into, and then you start having to get educated enough to be knowing to be like, okay, maybe I need to be walking into Pepper and having that conversation with them. But what are their serviceability calculators? Oh, they've just done a new release about they're not lending to investors with this type of income. Okay, great. I'm going to have to then, these brokers are across, like that's literally what your job is, Morgan, is to be across people that are on your books and what their serviceability is and where you can best drop a client that is going to fill that. Okay, that's a square peg. That's a round hole. No, that's not it. But no. Here is the best outcome. Here's the best broker. The best bank and loan for you, Mr. Customer. I like that. Do you like that analogy?
Yeah, that was really good. I quite like that.
Thanks, mate.
Very visual. No, but it's true though. Like that's what like mortgage brokers have to do. Like you have to be across multiple banks' policies, and like that changes quite often. And for someone that does decide to go direct, like they may end up blowing their credit score because maybe that bank tries to get them a loan and it doesn't work, or they just spend a lot of time spinning their wheels, and maybe they've missed out buying. Maybe when they could have gone to a broker who was good. So, yeah, like I think, for someone that wants to go to a bank, like that's fine. Like you can do that, but there's pros and cons, just like there is with brokers as well. I'd say if it's through a broker, like go through someone who's recommended, but also like when you interview them, like have your like goals in mind as well when you interview them, because having that at the point of the conversation, you can decide whether they'll be a right fit for you and vice versa as well, whether you can both help each other out.
And in what situations would going direct to a bank be better than going to a broker? Like, can I get a better rate by just going direct because they don't have to pay you a commission?
Not supposed to, Joe, but yeah, it's an interesting one because they say they can't do that, but I mean,
I'll tell you the answer. It actually depends, right? Because they're 2 different channels of the banks. So there's the broker channel, and then there's like the branch channel or retail network. And at different points in time, because they have like their lending books, right? And each channel is aligned to their specific lending book. So maybe at the point you go, like the broker channel could be like low on their funding target. So they go, hey, like we're going to give brokers like really good rates. and maybe the branch network may not be. You just don't know. Like it's really because they have to obviously price in accordance to make revenue, right?
Yeah.
So that's sort of how they do it. But then obviously, yeah, that's when like a broker can go, well, this bank's not the flavor of the month, or this policy's changed, for example, and it comes back to finding the right fit for that client with their goal based on those changes that happen, because there's a number of variables that change with banks.
And we're probably not talking sort of, we're not talking sort of 0.5 to 1%, where, I mean, is it that much, you'd say, in terms of the interest rate?
Yeah, like it can be big or it can be small. Like it really depends at any given point in time. Like even in, for example, like private banking, they may have more discretion at some points than like retail bank or even broker channel. It's just, there's no like, oh yeah, they can definitely do it. Because I can tell you now, like it's not the case. Like I used to work in private banking, and sometimes they could get better rates than retail bank or brokers, whereas sometimes brokers could come around and get like the sharpest rate ever. And it's like, how did you get that kind of thing? So there's no like, this is the best, and it's definitely the case. It's always different.
Yeah, I think the key benefit that a broker holds is they're not generally assigned to any one particular lender, and regardless of whichever lender they go to, they're all about getting the best the best outcome for the client. Whereas if you go into an ANZ or whichever bank, that's the loan you're going to get. You're going to get that price. Whereas a broker is matching the client to what they sort of need at that time.
Yeah, definitely, that's right. Yeah.
What are some of the benefits, I suppose, or how does somebody get into sort of seeing a private banking? How do you become a private banking client, and what are the benefits of that?
What's a private banking client?
So
let's reel it back a bit.
yeah. So private banking client is someone who like banks deem as being like a high net worth individual.
Yeah.
And each bank kind of has their like criteria that like you need to meet to be a client in that space. Most of them base it on either income or like assets that you hold, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of like a bit of a guide, I would say, because like to give you a bit of a look behind the curtain, like it's actually really based on like how much loans or revenue you can generate for them as a business. That's really what it comes down to. Like they won't advertise that because no one wants to hear that, right? But that's really what it comes down to, guys. And like they basically will always have different like criterias. So for example, when I left working at Commonwealth Bank, in private banking, they originally had a limit, like a floor of at least 2.5 million in lending. And then like a lot of the broker channel got wind of that. So a lot of transactions greater than that amount came in. Then they decided to change that to like 8 million. So, and it's all based really on revenue. I mean, to a degree, there's more to it than that. Like obviously relationships are an important piece of it as well. And tenure like at the bank, they take that into consideration as well. But yeah, that's like, they're probably the two main like non-monetary values that they also weigh on as well.
That sounds quite hard to get into then, I imagine.
Yeah.
If you got money.
Yeah, like if you've got money and you can borrow more,
Yeah.
there's definitely perks of like being a customer in that space. But yeah, like it's obviously based on like how much like there is that you can take to them.
And very interesting. Okay, where do we want to take this conversation? I feel like there's so many places. Jeff, have you got any idea? Where do you want to take this?
Well, I think one thing we haven't, we sort of skirted around the edge of it, but I want to talk about, so from a broking perspective only, we can't talk about from an accounting perspective whether you should or shouldn't do this. But structures, how do they help your borrowing capacity, or how can that help you continue to borrow? What's your
or hinder? How do they help or hinder?
Yeah, exactly.
Capacity. Yeah, like so, kind of like at least what I kind of discovered through like being broker is like when someone, for example, holds a trust, right? And say they've got either like commercial property or residential property, some banks, for example, will accept like an accountant letter stating that that trust is solvent and doesn't require the guarantors. So, you know, if you're the beneficiary or involved in that trust, if you're not, like your income is not dependent to meet that commitment. So in some ways, yeah, like you can kind of keep rinsing and repeating that, right? Chances are though, like if it's not like kind of structured the right way and, you know, you're not buying the right property, for example, that's where you might hit other problems like affecting lifestyle, like cash flow, having all those fundamentals as an investor, like that's where it becomes really important for something like that. Yeah, so I guess people. Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No, that's it.
Yeah, so like, why would I use it? Like, now I'm going to ask the question, like, why do I use a trust? Like, what's the benefit? What extra benefit do I get to do from a borrowing capacity perspective or a lending perspective by running a property through a trust? You haven't sold me on it yet.
Yeah, that's all right. So basically, like, it's in some ways not many banks will allow you to use the whole like accountant letter thing to like kind of rinse and repeat it, right? So in some instances, like with some of the bigger banks, that may not be necessarily an option. Sometimes it also will matter like buying the property in your own name. It also depends like as well, like what trust as well. So yeah, like, I don't know, for some people, they say it's better to do it earlier rather than later in the piece, but it also depends like where you're buying as well. Like, for example, some trusts, they incur like things like tax as well, straight up off the bat. But yeah, like if your property, for example, in that trust is like ticks all the boxes. So like say it's cash flow positive, you know, you've made money on the way in and maybe it's in a good area that you'll get like growth, right? Then if you can keep doing that, that's where like later on down the line, it will really help you to keep going, because some of those banks down like the lending ladder, so to speak, they will allow you to keep going in that sense, compared to if you just bought them all in your own name.
Are you sold now, Joe? Does that make sense, or do we need to? Does it? Yeah. So basically,
I'm interested about the trust situation.
Yeah.
What do you want to know?
So what are the type of assets that? What are the type of
What are the conditions?
No, like, are we talking high cash flow, a high negative geared property? Like, what are the type of assets that are the best suited from a general perspective? We already caveated this entire episode, so get your financial, advice from your accountant. But in general, from a lending perspective that you've seen in your experience, tailored to nobody, what are the better asset types in there, trust?
Yeah, that's right. So you hit the nail on the head earlier. It has to be a cash flow positive property, because when the bank says, okay, like great, you have an accountant letter that says that, now prove it. So if it gets to that, right, that's when, it's like, well, actually, no, it's negatively geared and losses are retaining in the trust. So therefore my, income matters to contribute. Cash flow positive, it just means that you can then clearly demonstrate that that asset in the trust really doesn't need, you as a beneficiary to put your own money in to service that commitment. So basically that can kind of be more at arm's length.
And do you have to declare, if you have a trust and you're the beneficiary of a property, that you own that trust, or can that be just very separate to your borrowing situation?
Yes and no. So it depends, I suppose, what type of trust it is, right? So if you're buying under a self-managed super fund, some banks will, for example, exclude it because they see that as being completely at arm's length. Some may. I actually haven't heard of any, but I've heard that some do. Otherwise, for a trust, like it's generally like you should disclose that. Otherwise, it's not deemed like responsible lending. So that's where like having that ability to demonstrate that it is like meeting its own commitments and doesn't require you to service that as well.
Yeah. And the other sort of condition usually is that most lenders won't allow LMI on that. So you'd need a 20% deposit from somewhere.
Yeah, that's right. And that's for some people, maybe at least starting out, that's maybe not possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if you can do that, then that just helps you kind of grow more, because like there's less debt, kind of helps you snowball a little bit more. So yeah.
I've got a question, which is probably not going to be helpful for many other people, but out of my curiosity. So if I have a trust and a corporate trustee, I could hide my asset and my property as long as it's cash flow positive. Well, it doesn't even have to be cash flow positive. I don't have to tell anybody about it. And I could literally have all my investment portfolio, each individual property, and then come to the bank and say, hey, I've got no properties. I would like to borrow a property. Can you help me out? Or would they be able to tell? And how would they be able to tell?
Yeah, that's very elusive stuff. I'd be pretty concerned about your character. No, it's something they can tell, because like if you're a director of that corporate trustee, and someone actually does like their due diligence of doing like a director search, for example, they'll say, okay, what are these entities? Why are you like a director of, ABC Property Pty Limited or something?
Which will then sort of call into question. You got the 5 C's of credit, right? Which will call into character. Why were you not disclosing that? Which kind of probably means the loan is unlikely to get approved, and they'll come up with another reason. But once you haven't disclosed something, or when something's a little bit smells fishy, it can give cause for a loan not being able to be approved.
I reckon there's ways around it. I reckon there is. Corporate trustees are clearly not going to be work. Look, someone said here, directorship will expose you. There are ways you can get someone else to be a director for you. So anyway, we're not going down the shady path. We're going down. All to give me an extra $50,000 of borrowing capacity, please. Please. No. Okay. Good. Okay. One other thing that we're gonna have to get to questions as well. And so thank you so much for taking so much time, Morgan. I almost called you Jordan.
Morgan.
Okay. One thing I want to understand a little bit.
My original name, but yeah, it's definitely Morgan.
Jordan, what's going to be the original name? There you go. Jordan Bushell. There you go.
Yeah. What was my question going to be? Oh, it's going to be around just getting my head around that deductible and non-deductible debt, and how that kind of should be structured for me looking to grow a portfolio.
Sounds like an accountant question, doesn't it?
Is it? Well, no, like understanding deductible. Oh, well, I guess that is an accountant question, but like okay, so with my broker, right, I just refinanced my property. I refinanced my PPOR, and I got a cash sum. And he's like, oh, here's the equity, and you can go, use it. You can use it however you want. And he said, but just don't spend that money on everyday life stuff. You need to be spending it on investment. And I was like, sorry, you just said that in passing, like it meant nothing, but you're going to be polluting your debt. What does polluting your loan? What does that mean? Yeah.
So I think what he was probably getting at is like the purpose of the loan needs to match what you use it for. So, like after it funds, right, like he can't actually stop you from buying stuff, right? Like, but it comes back to like the loan purpose, right? And that will kind of have a impact on tax. But I think from a borrowing perspective, like, if your goal is and you told him it's for investment purposes, then yeah, like it's prudent to use that for actual investment purposes as well. Otherwise, it's like you have no asset attached to that. If you just went and bought like, I don't know, a jet ski or something, like that asset's not going to bring you, an appreciation. It might bring you like excitement and happiness, but like it's not going to go up in value as well from an investing perspective either. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, maybe I need to rephrase it differently, because I'm interested about offset accounts and non-deductible debt, because most people think, and this is kind of the thing, most people think if I want to get ahead, I want to be paying down my PPOR as much as possible by putting loan repayments and paying down the debt. The way I like to think about it from an investment perspective is to have that PPOR on interest only, and then holding on to the deposit that I'm building as if I'm paying principal payments down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So yeah, I think I always come back to the purpose of the funds, right? But yeah, as long as you're using it for that purpose, like if you've got it on interest only, then that's going to help you with borrowing capacity going forward as well. Like planning forward for like when you do go to like your second tiers as well. I think, if it's more or less just making sure that it kind of checks out from a tax perspective, but at least from like a borrowing perspective, and if your goal is to like increase your portfolio, then like that's the way I would like say go about it.
Yeah, perfect.
Can I just ask though, the major lenders will interest only, they'll actually penalise you for being on interest only instead of principal and interest, right? But it's when you go to the second tiers that you can put in actual, or you can put in mostly actual repayments. Is that kind of what you were getting at there, Morgan?
Yeah, that's right. So kind of talking to what we went on earlier with like that loading buffer on top of the rate, some of those second tiers may not have as much, or they may not have any loading at all. So that's why like having, your loans that are with those bigger fours on interest only can help you stretch your borrowing capacity more with those second tiers, because it's getting assessed at either a lower amount or like no loading buffer on it at all.
Perfect.
I think we lost Joe. Did we lose you, Joe? Does that make
I'm here. I'm here.
I was just thinking about, because I'm just looking at you and I want to make sure, because if Joe doesn't understand it, there's a lot of people out there probably not understanding it as well.
I love it. Okay. I've been watching these comments stream in left, right, and center. So
it's nuts. Like,
I'm a little scared about how long we're going to spend on this, Morgan. So if if it gets too much, just like do something to, the battery's going dead. Oh, I gotta go. Oh, Jesus. So yeah, let's jump to some of these questions. Let's get it going, man. I've been loving this so far. It really is insightful. Really insightful what you've shared so far. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
What have we got?
I just said no, we can hear him. Jeff is never on mute. Oh, jeez. Okay, so I'm just seeing our first impression in a trust. There was the accountant. That's not a question we need to answer. When buying your first property, were you already planning to acquire more? I don't know. I'm trying to pick through the cherry pick. I think the answer is yes, he was.
Yeah, it was.
How did you find the investor? Interesting. That's probably a different conversation. Do you want to ask that one about?
I don't know what you're saying, mate. Just pull the questions up.
Well, no, because I don't want to
pick good
questions, mate. Otherwise, if I just pick any question, can you touch back on why not get a trust for your first property? Oh, yeah, that's an interesting one. Yeah. Why? I mean, we're not accountants, but what are your thoughts on why you wouldn't have gotten a trust in your situation?
Look, it's funny, right? Because at the time, I thought it was the best thing. And this is just like my experience, so it doesn't apply to everyone, right? But this is just my learnings from the process. As I kind of mentioned, like buying in a trust, if there are any ways, like through depreciation, like ordering a depreciation schedule, for example, you can't actually claim those deductions to yourself for your own tax, like as an individual. So those like deductions actually just get retained in the trust as losses. But also, like having a trust, you need to pay for those financials to get prepared and lodged each year. Now, I say I've kind of gone like, full circle on it. And that's only because like when I decided to like set up my business, like I nominated that trust as like the shareholder of my own business. So it actually ended up having a really good purpose in the end, apart from just holding a property. Like it holds the shares of my own business. Like if I had my time again, I don't think I would have bought my first property in a trust just because of some of those benefits. But who knows, down the line, maybe it'll help.
And does it make lending a little bit more difficult? Like, does it require more paperwork, more time, more investment to actually push this thing through? Because speed is the key, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. It took a lot longer. Like, my first property that I got it through just a lender at the branch. So like I just walked in and said, hey, I'm buying in a trust. And like the guy had no idea how to process a trust loan. And, I was like, dude, just do it. Like, just do it. You know what I mean? And like it was a real process. Like it took so long. And it was pretty frustrating, I have to admit. So yeah, like that part of it was quite challenging in that sense.
How about signing the loan documents for a assignment for a company loan like a couple of years ago? It's like, wow, that's crazy. Like just knowing where to sign and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, so I think this one's an interesting for brokers circling back. So this is a common objection. Why do brokers only have access to a limited number of lenders? Would you trust brokers if they had access to all lenders? Yeah, interesting one.
Yeah, so I think in order to like kind of have a fair and competitive market, like if everyone had access to the same, then like I think it'd probably have maybe a net effect perhaps. But I think because it's the aggregators, right? So when you start as a broker, you don't go straight to the loan. To the bank. You don't go straight to the bank. There's that aggregator. So they're like the middleman between you and the bank. And there's multiple types of aggregators. Like there's not one, there's like quite a few in the industry.
And, a couple of others.
Yeah, and they all pick banks who they want to partner with. So as brokers, you'll then pick, okay, which aggregator do I want to work with because they have a panel of so many. Why do they only limit it? I'm not actually sure, to be honest. Is that something you maybe know, Jeff?
Why do aggregators or why do brokers limit how many lenders they have?
Why, like aggregators limit it?
Well, I think it's all about the relationships, right? I mean, because otherwise, the bigger the aggregator, I imagine, the more lenders they'd be able to get access to. Whereas your smaller ones, it's about cost, right, as well. I mean, imagine if you're a smaller aggregator, why would you want to get connected with Bluestone or Liberty? Because it's just an extra cost that the brokers may not use that particular lender. So that'd be what it is. It'd be cost, I'd say.
Yeah, but at least as a broker, I mean, within your own aggregator, you can pick who you want to get accredited with. So for me, like I picked the kind of banks that will help investors, some home buyers, but then like, not to really like talk myself up or anything, but like, I mean, yeah, it's the ones that I think can help my own clients the best. So some brokers don't go and get accredited with like all 40 banks under their own aggregator. It's just, not many do that.
Yeah.
So what's a good kind of like benchmark to be able to go to a broker and say, hey, how many banks do you have on the books?
Yeah, like I think it really depends like what your goals are, I think, because if it's like you'd want to know what ones they're accredited with, right? Because you want to make sure that when they say, oh, I can take you to these ones because it'll help you achieve your goal. Like if they're just accredited with banks that have like super cheap rates, but your goal is to like build a property portfolio, then they're probably not going to be able to help you as much. Like how will you know that? Well, that's where it comes down to like the interview process. But yeah, I think it's really just comes down to like how many options they can present. And if it also helps if they're being upfront and honest with you. Like there's been clients who've approached me and said, hey, I want this. And then I found that it's a bank that I'm not accredited with. And I'll say, hey, look, I'm not accredited with these guys, but it is the best option for you. If you're willing to wait a few business days for me to get that accreditation, then we can proceed with them.
That's the sign of somebody willing to go the extra mile.
If it's definitely in their best interest, then I think it's worth doing if they're willing to wait. If they're not, then that's fine. Like you can send them somewhere that they will get the help faster.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is a good question. So I'm skipping through some questions that have already been answered further away. So what does Morgan ask the green young person wanting to buy a property that may be better serviced by buying an investment over a first home? How do you approach that situation?
Buying a property that may be better served.
So basically somebody rent vesting is what way I'm sort of saying it. seeing that.
Okay. What would I ask them? Yeah, so I think like the main thing would be to make sure that like they're going to be set up for like success, right? Because you want to make sure you have the best chance of possible starting really well on your journey. So that might be like saying, okay, like, are you living at home, for example? Like people that maybe start their journey really early in their like early 20s and are still living at home, like that can really boost servicing, for example, because like you're like living rent free. The kind of questions I would ask as well is like, how educated are you? Like, how much have you learned? How much time have you spent looking or thinking about property as well? Because like building your knowledge will help. But I think from a servicing perspective and borrowing capacity, yeah, it would also like matter like how like their income looks as well, what kind of commitments they have with like credit cards and stuff, and then looking to like, help them basically understand what they can do to improve it as well.
Yeah.
I've got a question around something similar. So how much of a negative influence from a serviceability perspective is a PPOR versus an investment property?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's probably, I'd probably say it's hard to really nail it down. I mean,
It is.
Yeah, it would be, yeah.
Because like the loan against investment property, in a way, it's like a good loan, right? Because it's an asset that increases in value, has rent. Whereas like PPOR, it's really hard to nail down. Like,
it really depends on, because you've then got sort of negative gearing on the investment, which then sort of skews how much. But
let's play it this way. I have a property that I've been renting, and I rent. I'm a rent investor, and I haven't yet bought an investment property. I pay $500 a week rent. I'm now looking to buy a principal place of residence that is going to be $500 a week negative cash flow from a mortgage perspective. So it's net neutral, right? From a debt perspective, from an income perspective, nothing changes. Or would I be better off to get an investment property that is negative $500 and retain the $500 rent vesting? I feel like this is going to be it depends, and it's too complicated. We need a proper calculator, but I'm interested because I with my investing, I got to a point where I couldn't borrow anymore from an investment perspective, but I'm in a good location, and I could afford to I could borrow an extra 100, 200,000, whatever the number was, to get into the market that I'm currently in. So I was like, well, I can borrow 600,000, or I can borrow 800,000 and get in a higher capital growth market, but it's going to kneecap me from a serviceability perspective. But I'm actually going to be tapped out the 600 market, so I may as well leverage as much as I can and get that extra 200 capped on, and then have a PPOR as well. Don't know if there's a question in that.
That's kind of hard to answer, I think.
You lost me, Joe. It was too long.
That's all right, mate. That's too. It's an interesting question, and maybe we can run it by some calculators that you've got there, mate. And we can do some scenarios in the group and kind of come up with something later on.
Yeah, sure.
If you're open to that.
Sure.
There's so many questions, and I'm just thinking about which ones are actually, because there's ones about DHOAS loan, which is defense out. That's a rabbit hole. I'm just trying to pick the broadest. Why would you have PPOR as interest only when it's non-deductible? I don't get it. Well, I mean, because you want to keep buying investment properties. I mean, it's. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's yeah. I mean, I get why people don't get about the not paying non-deductible debt, but I suppose it depends on your goals and objectives.
So what? Yeah.
This is an interesting one. How much do lenders shave off rental income from rooming houses and short-term holiday rentals? Do you know the answer to that one?
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, I'd say, look, again, it comes back to lenders and specifically, but as a general answer, it's actually more than it would be for like your stock standard residential investment property. And that's just because it can't come back to risk, right? Like those type of properties, generally speaking, are vacant for longer. So banks, obviously, they don't like risk, so they want to protect themselves. So they will shade more off those in order to mitigate that risk. So that's basically how much it is. As a percentage, I think it kind of varies. Like 80% is a standard for investment property with rental income. So I'll take 80% of that total amount. For like your short stay or like holiday rentals, I think it can be anywhere from like 75 down to like 60 perhaps. This kind of depends on the lender, I think. So yeah,
it's a good. I mean, there's a whole heap of questions, but they're quite specific ones. So I'm just mindful. I'm trying to read and decipher what they actually mean. Do you want to jump into the comments, Joe, and sort of see if there's one you want to pick out?
Oh mate, we've had so many. Oh, there was one during the day that I actually wanted to touch. Actually, it's on. Yeah. Okay. You guys talk amongst yourselves, guys. I'm falling down the rabbit hole here. One of the questions, it was around. I don't know if you saw it, Morgan. Was somebody that had a larger portfolio. I'm going to find it. I'll let you know.
Throw some questions in comments in the thing. I'm sorry if we missed your question. Some of them were just very particular, and I was just like, oh wow, this is just too detailed. So if you keep them kind of like keep them high level, so we can sort of unpack them enough. But I mean, interested to hear people's questions or comments, and just mindful. Morgan's been he's had a massive day, and he's already been on the call for an hour 45. So he's
still going strong, mate.
What's your secret? You got
coffee, mate. I smashed the coffees. Love it.
Geez, how many? We're talking about coffees. Let's here we go. Better you pay off P9 and use equity. Debt recycling makes the interest on equity as tax deductible. If it's savings, it cannot be claimed. Okay. Well, it's claimed, but I mean, yeah. I don't know. Speak to you. Okay. Salary and rental incomes. Well, I don't think they shave anything off you. I mean, it depends on. I think we've answered the rental income. Generally, they shave between 20 and 30%. I'll bring this one up while Joe's looking at this. When I say salary, I don't think they shave. I mean, the calculator will shave tax off it. That's the only thing they're doing. You put the complete amount in, and it comes out net, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm trying to think when they wouldn't. Like,
yeah, unless it's self-employed, maybe. But even that, I mean, that's
No, not really. It's more being able to prove the consistency of that income. If you can prove it, then you can use it.
Yep. So I think this person might be getting confused with gross versus net, perhaps.
Okay.
I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of. I've never. I mean, rental. Yes, rental is usually they'll take between 20 to 30% off, and that's to allow for expenses of the investment property.
Yeah, like there's some like other types of income that might get shaded, like maybe like investment portfolios managed by a financial planner. They might take like a deeming rate of the balance.
Yep.
And that could be like 20%, right? That's probably, that could answer it, but that's not really salary related. So
no.
Yeah.
Yep.
So one of my questions is around like how much more do you get from a first tier? Like once you get tapped out, right? Oh, I'm tapped out. The bank says the big four say no. I go to the second tier. Like how long can I keep going until I'm, again, how long is a piece of string? But like how much more can I get out of a second tier lender?
Yeah, like general rule of thumb is compared to your first tiers, you could probably, I would say you could almost double the number that you have with a first tier.
Wow.
And it depends who you count as a second tier, right? Like you could say, oh, Pepper's second tier. I would say, no, they're kind of like a middle ground.
Well, ING certainly wouldn't double. You'd be probably lucky. They have similar borrowing capacity to a first tier, almost.
Yeah. I mean, like something like Liberty, which is definitely third tier, like I would say like an extra 25% borrowing capacity just with them.
Wow.
Like you can normally squeeze like one, definitely two, like two, maybe definitely one out with them. So, yeah, like you might be able to get one or two with a second tier before you then have to go to third tier, but it really comes down to like income and that person as an individual as well.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't think it would be that much out of it.
It's huge, Joe. That's I mean, hopefully they don't start to regulate the second and third tier lenders a little more because I mean, they were talking about it in the past, but I don't think they were serious about it. They were talking about it probably around 2019 or 2018. They were sort of saying, well, some of these third-tier lenders are just doing stuff that we don't really like too much. It's a bit too much of a risk. But then it's because they don't have they're not necessarily all ADIs, from my understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think somebody spelled my name with 2 Fs. I'm a little disappointed whoever did that, but that's okay.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Cool. Any other questions from anybody? Is there anything in there? I spent ages finding it. It was from I don't know if anyone else saw it. I'm not even going to attempt to try and come up with what it was.
Is this the one? You went to the bank directly. That's not really a question. That's a statement. I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, this is exactly going back to what we were talking about, right? Like, where the mortgage broker the bank might have a better favor on mortgage brokers at that point in time, or they might have a better favor towards banks, banking focus at that time. So that's an awesome outcome for you, whoever Facebook user is.
Yeah, I mean, I could look up the name. I probably should. But
that's fine.
I got a question that we don't normally ask that I do want to ask. What's next for you from an investing perspective, Morgan? Are you going to? I mean, obviously at the moment you might not be able to borrow because recently self-employed. But do you want to keep buying? Are you putting the queue in the rack? What's your kind of game plan?
Yeah. So you definitely hit the nail on the head. Like waiting for borrowing capacity to come back once I've got 2 years worth of financials under my belt. But after that,
is that a blanket rule across? Like, is there a second tier lender that you can go to get around that?
Yeah, look, there's a few that will consider 1 year's worth of like tax returns.
Probably Red Z, isn't it? No,
something like that.
Sorry to drop names, mate. I'm just dropping your IP. My bad.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
it's broker only anyway, so you can't go direct to these guys. So.
Yeah, that's true. And like I'd have to do it through someone else. But to answer your question,
so what is next?
My goal is basically to buy like a few more investments. At some point, I'll think about a PPOR, but the goal is just to keep buying investment properties, really.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Just keep going. Just keep hustling. And this is what I like about what your story, like what you've done so far, is like you haven't gone, the crazy one and just gone, 50 properties by 50. You've just kept and like you haven't had these short bursts. You've had these consistent like year on year on year on year, and like, okay, cool. This is what I got to do. I'm going to be buying another one. I'm going to be renovating it. I'm going to be adding value. I'm going to be making sure that it's got some positive cash flow, and it's going to be in an area that's going to grow. So you've got those three pillars holding it up, and it's been a really interesting story. I'm loving it. I'm excited to see what comes next, mate. I bet year 1, year and a half in, you're going to be itching to buy your second one.
Yeah, true. It's when you have like such a long break, you're like, I kind of miss the rush of like getting that next property, and you're kind of like, I want to.
It's exciting, man.
So you kind of like live vicariously through your clients. It's like, like get that one,
Oh my man, yeah. We're gonna be buying again soon, so I'm excited. I'm gonna get on soon.
Good stuff, mate.
Awesome. That's what we're all about. Hey, Morgan, how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, sure. So they can get in touch through like my website. So it's just fullcirclefinance.com.au. I'm pretty active member in the group as well, but I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, all that sort of stuff. So.
Instagram. Instagram's got some crafty kind of follow them on Instagram.
It's basically those are the main channels, really.
Yeah. And they, if they need a loan or get any kind of mortgage broking questions, reach out, have a chat. And, that's what I love about brokers. This is what I love about brokers is that, you can ask as many questions as you like because they're getting paid by the bank. They're not already paid, but they're already paid for. So you can just kind of keep going back, spitballing ideas. This is what I'm trying to do with my portfolio. This is how I'm trying to get there. Obviously, don't ask stupid questions and get yourself educated first. Don't just go there with silly questions, but you've got someone there on your team that can help you grow.
Can I just spell that though? The broker only gets paid when a loan's settled. So if you go to them with 50 questions, I mean, eventually, after about the 42nd, you might say, "Oh, look, I'm sorry, Mr. Client. I've really got to work on somebody. I've got to pay the bill somewhere." So be respectful to your broker's time. If you don't feel they can help you, don't keep trying to massage ways. They're probably just not the broker for you, unfortunately.
Yeah, and also be aware of applying for multiple brokers and multiple loans at the same time, because some people, I've seen people like, oh, I've got a loan in with these guys, I'm just gonna wait for that one, but the broker said it might take 6 weeks, but I'm gonna go to this bank that said it's gonna take 4 weeks. It's like, oh whoa, don't do that.
Yeah, no, definitely don't.
Yeah.
Cool. Wonderful. Is there anything else? Is there any question you wish we asked? Is there any area that you wish we explored a bit more, Morgan?
Jeez, it feels like we covered a lot, to be honest.
Yeah. This is like that question. This is like that question on an interview. Like, do you have any questions for us now? And it always feels like it's loaded. It's like, yes, give me those questions. I know you've got something about it, but no, this is not one of those.
Yeah, no, definitely not. But like, I definitely appreciate how much effort you guys put into this, and also just the group as well. Like, it's a wealth of knowledge, and yeah, as I mentioned off the air, like anyone I speak to, I send them to the group because it's just a really good way to increase your knowledge so quickly. So yeah, you guys do an awesome job, and I'm glad to be a part of it tonight.
Yeah. I appreciate it, man. You've been an absolute wealth of knowledge. And that's one of the biggest things is like, that's how this group became this group. That's how we got 10,000 members, is because of people like you that take 2 hours out of their night, plus preparation and all this effort and energy that you put into it. So I just want to thank you for that. And you've got awesome value that you've provided all night. So I appreciate that, man. It's been sensational. One of my faves. I love it.
Yeah, glad to be on the show, guys. And yeah, pleasure as always.
Thanks very much. Appreciate you coming on. We'll
Let's go buy a property, guys. Let's see you later. Have a good one.
See you guys. Have a good one.